good morning, everyone. Great to have Mary along here this morning. Just a quick introduction to Mary. I've known a couple of years now, Mary.
Probably something like that, I should think.
Yeah, you've done some training with me, and obviously we met through BNI as well. But I've got to know Mary and the quality of her work as well. So it's a pleasure to have her along here today to talk about quality and professional photography when it comes to your social media content. So Mary, great to have you in the hot seat today for our interview. No pressure, obviously. You're the expert today. I know your photography has been a big part of your life since your early teens, and also that your mum was your inspiration. So I'll let you explain more.
So I don't know, around about sort of 13, got handed a manual SLR film camera, and my mum had been taught by her father all the all about f-stops, aperture, film speed, all that kind of thing. ASA, if anyone remembers, 36 images that you can take on a film. And I learned that way, really. I remember I used to go off and we were a Catholic family. I used to sort of skive off going to church and literally go off with my camera. So I don't know. She's up there now. She's looking down on me, and now she's just found that out. So there you go. But no, she got me into sort of learning the rudiments, if that makes sense. And it took me ages to actually sort of move on to digital photography. But I think that was my really starting point. My whole family, if you know Frank Roberts, that was my mum's cousin. So Frank Roberts took all the photographs in Norwich back in sort of the 40s, of post-war images, and there was an exhibition of his, I think, fairly recently. But he was taking pictures of very ordinary streets, and now it's become sort of a real historical archive. And so we've always had a family into photography, really.
Brilliant. And times have certainly changed. You know, I remember taking your camera in and getting your pictures developed into boots. Those days have gone and certainly changed. So first of all, if anyone got any questions, obviously just stick them in the chat bar, because I'm able to sort of monitor them today as well, while Mary's hopefully doing most of the talking, hopefully today. But what I want to touch on today is, we all know just how important the visuals and the imagery can be for social media and your websites as well. But just how important is quality photography when it comes to our social media? Obviously it's key, but can you tell the difference between professional and amateur photographs used on social media to promote a business?
Yeah, so I would say being somebody who just like eats, if you think of somebody who just consumes information via images, which is what I try and do, I'm always trying to work out how somebody created a photograph, or what the history of it was, or what it's trying to tell me, what it's trying to convey to me. I think I'm so sort of attuned now to really looking at people's images, and I would say there's some kind of telltale signs, like an off-white background that's really trying to be a white background. That's a pretty good sign. Images that are really too saturated, so they look absolutely great on your phone as a little image. Use them on social media. Something great's inside you if something is just oversaturated or it's over filtered. Also, I think, a lot of professional photographs have a really strong, they call it a tonal range, but actually it's actually getting the most out of whatever image you took. So it's actually potentially sort of getting more detail out of the shadows, really sort of reducing some highlights sometimes. So actually that whole image is a lot richer, still natural looking, but very rich. I think composition is just so key. I think sometimes people do have to learn how to compose images, and my tips that I give to anyone who comes to me just include things like look for triangles, have plenty of space around your subject. You see a portrait sometimes where somebody's literally just cropped around somebody's head. Okay, it's almost like they can't breathe. It's so tightly cropped and compact. they're the sort of things that I think, oh, that just doesn't sit right with me. And you'll find yourself, you might think, oh, well, you know, that's a nice image, but actually you need to let your subject breathe. You need to have a little bit of space around the subject as well. Also, I think some of the telltale signs where you kind of think, oh, it would have been much better if they'd used kind of a different lens for that. So on your mobile phones, if you're always taking pictures with your mobile phones, you're always on a 35mm usually. So that's a slightly wide angle, so you can get more into your image. Really not good for portraits, because what it does, obviously, it's got the spoon effect. So if you're too close to your face, you get horrible, concave look to the face. And a proper photographer would use something like an 85mm lens, which is a really good portrait lens. It's got a great focal length. So what it does, it kind of flattens the perspective of your face and actually is much more flattering for everybody. So there's those sort of things. And if you don't see that variety in the images, you don't get the best out of the subject usually. So whilst I think mobile phones are absolutely amazing, and, you know, to put yourself on portrait mode, even when you're taking a picture of a bottle of beer or something like that, it can come up with some great results. You're never going to quite have the edge of being able to use lots of different lenses and what have you as well.
So it's not ideal to use your mobile phone for a profile image for, say, LinkedIn or...
Not ideal, not unless, you know, it can be sort of a bit more of a, what we call sort of an environmental portrait. So if you sat at your desk, absolutely brilliant. You've got lovely light coming in through the window, maybe one side of your face, that's perfect. Just anything too close, no, absolutely not, on a mobile phone, no.
Okay. You can slap my wrist then, because I've just updated my LinkedIn profile and it's one that I took on my mobile phone. It's obviously not ideal. So you touched on the quality of the photos. It obviously really matters if you're going to promote a business on social media. So when it's viewed on screen, like you said, with a mobile phone, it's usually very, very small. So it's best to have different images for what you're going to use as a profile image, for what you're going to use as a social media post.
Absolutely, yeah. The resolution of your image is really key. You don't want to... what I do as a photographer is I supply people with two different resolutions. I'll take one image, but they'll have a variety of different crops, because actually, obviously, your Instagram is your square format, your Facebook is slightly different, LinkedIn is different again. So you do need to sort of think about the end use for the user when you're creating images. I find Instagram, the square format, really irritating because I just don't like it. But I've worked around it, kind of thing. But I think, you know, just being sort of mindful that obviously you want your image to appear very quickly on whatever online format, you know, social media platform you're using. The best is to make sure that image is probably, you know, it can even be as small as sort of 200 bytes, if you know what that is. So like not even a meg, a lot smaller than a meg. If you look at the file size, it's got to load quickly. That's one of the key things. So yeah.
So I'm going to swear at you now.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the first to admit and hold my hands up here that I have and I do use stock photos.
Yeah.
Okay. I use them for clients because clients generally want to do things on the cheap. They don't want to do a professional photo shoot. I recommend that they do a photo shoot. So should we really be using stock photography for our social media?
I think it has its place. So say, for example, somebody is maybe wanting to sort of say that they're a local business. So yeah, go on Shutterstock or Alamy or whatever and actually get some really nice images of Norwich that you can maybe put in a banner in the background, something like that, just to get that sort of local feel.
Yeah.
But make sure that the style of image is similar to the ones that you're producing yourself or your photographer is producing yourself. If you suddenly have a dreamy, beautiful, wispy stock image and then quite a raw looking, I don't know what you call it, sort of a gritty image of yourself, the two won't sit very well next to each other. So really try and blend in both your stock and your own images. And stock photography isn't all smooth and lovely now. I think it's sort of caught on the fact that the authenticity of images and the more natural looking ones, if you use Shutterstock regularly, they send out something every year, which is the sort of trends, image trends for the year.
Okay.
And that means that you can, you know, and they'll be the first to tell you that sort of authenticity, you know, somebody just working in their kitchen as opposed to working at their desk, you know, is all the rage at the moment. So I think, you know, you can definitely get better images now on Shutterstock and all those now, which will actually easier match your own ones. I still think you just can't be personalizing all your images, because unless you can't get an image, I think it will always be better to show part of yourself, because you are your brand 9 times out of 10, and it's all about what you're offering people.
That's exactly what I was then going to come on to, is about the advantages of using a professional photographer. You know, you can create images that will match your brand and is consistent with your brand. You can't obviously get that with stock photography. I completely agree. When it comes to stock photography now, it is becoming more natural. You know, I think the days have gone of whether you got the beautiful model or the handsome model and sitting at the desk, you know, it's more realistic now, and you'd have someone similar to myself or Raymond sitting there. No, sorry, Raymond, didn't mean to pick on you there, but it is becoming far more natural. So obviously that's one of the big advantages of using a professional photographer.
Yeah, it is. I think it's not a be all and end all, though. I think you can mix and match with professional images and images you take yourself. I think one of the things that I do myself out of business, because what I'd like to offer the majority of people who come to me is, you know, if you want some really crisp images, or maybe some images in the studio, portrait images in the studio, just so you've got something very, you know, crisp looking or whatever, fine, do that. But then the next hour, let me sort of talk you through some of the composition things so that you can create your own social media to complement, because your professional photographer is never going to be there at the times when you've suddenly got an event happening and all the rest of it. So my personal offering is to say, let's mix and match. Let's like get the really sort of studio quality images that you need, maybe to sort of add that professional edge on your website. But then with social media, do a mix and match and do a bit of everything. And that's where the sort of training comes in.
It's like you're second guessing what I'm going to ask next. So that's exactly what I was going to lead on to. Is should you really use a professional photographer for all your images, for not just social media, but your website as well? Or like you said, it's okay to actually mix those professional images with homemade images, if you like.
I think so. I think what you don't want to do is confuse your followers. So you don't want to say, you don't want to suddenly look like you're using somebody else's workshop or somebody else's kitchen, and then, you know, hop into your own kitchen to make your cakes kind of thing. It's one of those, like, you've got to look as though it's still you. All right. So it's still you creating images of your products. Yeah. So, you know, having the telltale thing is having, you know, nicking pictures off Shutterstock, and I use that term loosely, nicking, and then sort of trying to sort of make out products. Obviously, you do things like you make this style of cake. Well, just don't do that, because that's where you're going to just make people not trust you. So I think that's the thing. Okay,
thanks. Steve, I just want to mention that the cat needs to be a member to be joining on this. I'll have to invoice you for membership for the cat, I'm afraid. But okay, so Mary, just moving on. So when it comes to your business images, should we expect those to be edited, or do we just use them as they are, or is it acceptable for them to be edited, especially for social media?
Yeah, I think it's definitely acceptable. I think, you know, there's very few images that I would give out which haven't been touched at all. I guess some of the studio images, everything's set up perfectly, and I know exactly all the lights coming from. I can get away with not doing very much on some of the studio images. But I think for certainly any location shot, there's always something about, like I talked about, that tonal range, increasing that tonal range to get them the maximum color and impact on that image without looking, you know, too in your face. There's it's best to not saturate an image. It's best to can't remember the name of it. Steve, you're gonna have to tell me. Instead of saturate, you will embolden those colors, all those pixels in your image which are not already strong. Saturate does it across the board. So whenever you're using your phone and you saturate an image right up, what it will do will just brighten every single pixel in that image and strengthen every color in that image, every pixel.
Okay. So when it comes to like our profile images, I mean, you'll probably all be surprised to know that I've not airbrushed mine too much. Should we expect those profile pictures to be as flattering as possible? You know, using filters, using techniques. What are the techniques that could be used while still retaining some of that authenticity rather than looking too airbrushed?
Yeah, so this is what we sort of term the quality of the light that you use. So if you go into a studio and you know the great big soft boxes that you see, quality of light is it can be very sort of harsh on the face. If you think that you go out in midday sun, horrible shadows across all the face, awful, okay? And that's because the size of the sun is actually small in relation to you. It's like a dot in the middle of the sky. So what you're trying to do is actually make the light source as big as possible in relation to your subject. Okay, so this is what softboxes do in the studio, and the light actually wraps around the subject, gets rid of all the harsh shadows, and you know that's really what you want to do. So portrait's best on a cloudy, overcast day, most definitely. Gets rid of all those horrible shadows, and you know, not only that, it stops people squinting, everything like that, and it's just much more beautiful. And you'll find one of the best things to do sometimes is to sit people next to a open window. So if you do want a little bit of shape to the face, you do want a little bit to show the shape, maybe, you know, somebody who hasn't got as many wrinkles as I have sitting next to a window, that's perfect. You can get some light on one side of the face, it just looks a lot more natural. And I would always say use natural light as opposed to trying to, I don't know, stick a sort of a light at home close to somebody. First of all, you need to change the color of the light. If it's a just a normal light bulb, it would just come out awful. So never attempt to do that. Always go for some sort of natural light if you can.
Okay, excellent. So it's hope for me and Jamie, yeah. Which, leading on, Jamie, before I move on, Jamie's had a quick, just put a quick question in the chat. Why have Instagram made it so difficult for customers to manage their images?
I think, do you mean actually loading images on Instagram? Or
no, I mean editing it. I mean, why can't you just load an image? You know, why do you have to fiddle around with it?
What you mean, step through all the options? I think traditionally Instagram had a certain look to the images. It was always filtered. It was always that sort of grey, you know, the dark edges, and it always had that sort of style. I think now it's become a lot more of a general platform. It used to be sort of, in my mind, it used to be sort of just for the personal use rather than being a commercial platform, if that makes sense. It used to be people sort of putting stuff on their holidays. I don't think they've changed that. What I do really have issue with Instagram with is not being able to post 10 images from my laptop. So I've edited my photos and I want to just put 10 images on because that's always better for your SEO, to people actually just flick past every image. And I can't do that. I can literally put one image on if I do it from my laptop, which I find really frustrating.
There is software out there that you can do that, Mary. If you want to know more, you can do it from your desktop. But Jamie, I've noticed that, you know, when we first started using Instagram, people would use filters and you could choose the different filters. I think that's probably less of a thing now. And it's just natural images going onto Instagram now. But thanks for your question.
Thank you.
So Mary, is there value in telling, you mentioned multiple images. Is there a value in telling a story using a series of images rather than just the one?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would say anyone who creates a product, they're missing the trick if they only show the final product. Okay, people want to understand, especially if it's a business or an artisan craft or something like that. People want to understand what you've done to actually create that product as well. And it's far more interesting than looking just the final, you know, Shopify image, if you know what I mean, that the final one. People are interested, especially if they want to buy locally, they're interested in how a brand or how a business came about. And part of that could be showing, you know, how you gain experience in developing your craft, if you like, and actually the work that goes into it. I did an amazing shoot with a lead worker once, and ages ago, and it was all molten lead being poured into a bucket. It was it was heaven for a photographer. Yeah. But to actually see that go from that molten lead all the way through to being it was a plaque on an urn, and actually all the process is far more interesting than actually just saying plonk, there's that.
Yeah,
okay?
I totally
and
get
it
that.
shows the art. So if you put a value on your product, explain to people why they're paying that much money by giving that series of images.
So Mel would be the perfect example with the floristry, starting, creating a bouquet, starting from scratch, a series of images, and then obviously the finished product. And that could even sort of lead on to someone like Martin, you know, when you're doing a website, or Steve doing a website, you're starting off from the basics, you know, the blank page leading through to the finished website. So, that all makes sense. So you mentioned colors before. So can you use colors to basically convey a message in images?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense. So actually, it's one of the things that if you've been on any photography course, they drill into you just to create any sort of mood, any sort of reaction. This is what you want. You want an emotion coming from somebody when they look at an image. You don't just want them just to see your product. You want them to see your values in it. So say you added a little bit of, you know, green is the perfect example. There's a zillion colors of green, actually. But if you add that, to me, that says fresh, that says nature, it says environmentally friendly, you know, all those type of things. So it's kind of linked with all your marketing messages generally. What's of value to you? Is it, like yellow would be something very energetic, you know, just whatever you built your brand colors on, really you should reflect in the images you create. And I mean, where is he now? He's gone now. Martin, when he's looking at sort of branding for his own customers, he'd be acutely aware of all of that. So just play that through with your images as well.
Okay, I think Martin, he's just messaged me. I think his client has turned up early, so he may have to disappear. So I think I once read somewhere that blue is perfect for corporate.
I always associate it with the NHS. Having worked there all my life, so half my life. And I think blue is generally a cool color. It's a relaxing color. It's not going to hype you up. Obviously your reds and your bright pinks and your, you know, splashes of color that Mel will know about is invigorating and a sort of passionate sort of color. If you go online and you just research color wheel, tell you all about how colors can complement each other, the best colors to work together with each other, and the best colors to sort of create a certain mood. So just go, and there's loads of stuff on the net for that.
Okay, so if I or any of us, I mean Steve, Raymond, Martin, already sort of keen photographers, but if myself, Jamie or Mel, we want to go out and buy our own camera and take our own images for business use, for social media and website as well. What's the best camera to begin with? Now I'm going to pretend I know what I'm talking about here, but is it an SLR? Is it mirrorless? Does that?
I'd certainly go mirrorless now. I think there's an element creeping into some of the, just so you know the difference. So the mirrorless camera, the light hits the sensor directly. Single lens reflex, SLR camera, digital camera. it hits the mirror before it actually hits the sensor. All right, so you'll find the mirrorless ones very small, and so is so much easier to carry around with you. And I don't, if you think of travel photography, anything like that, I think, not being funny, I think you might disagree, Stephen, I think you'd be daft to sort of just suddenly start to create all your sort of lenses and everything around an SLR, digital SLR now. Always go. I've got a Sony A7 III, which is a mirrorless camera, lovely camera. I currently put adapters on that to use some of my Canon lenses, which is not ideal because it makes it heavy again. But I'm gradually weaning myself off. The only thing I don't like about mirrorless is that the sensor gets dirtier, because literally when you open, you swap the lens over, you're getting dust and what have you on the sensor so much quicker. So you get little blobs and all sorts of things. Drives me absolutely nuts. And if anyone knows somebody who cleans sensors cheaply, please tell me. But yeah, to me, that's the only bugbear. And the image quality on mirrorless, I think, and the sharpness particularly, just blows what used to be a good camera, which is a Canon 5D3, blows it out the water. Yeah.
Okay. So again, I'm just going to carry on pretending I know what I'm talking about here, but full frame, what does it mean?
Yeah.
Sensor size, number of pixels, I could go on. You know, I've looked at these phrases. It's completely alien subject to me, completely foreign language, but what do they all mean?
Yeah, so a few years ago, it was all about the number of pixels. So it's all how many million pixels you've got. Now it's very much more to get a very good quality image. The size of the sensor is really important. So the sensor is what collects all the light, all the details, okay? A full frame sensor is usually roughly an inch by, I can't remember, rectangular, but an inch in length. And that's a step up from the normal sort of DSLR cameras. Now, the more information you're picking up on a bigger sensor gives you a better quality image. It's as simple as that. So now we've got some mobile phones, such as the latest iPhone 12 Pro, I think it is, which is ridiculously large sensor, okay, which will give you a better quality image, but it's still it's still going to fall by the wayside because you're not using a good enough quality lens. So look for a largest possible sensor if you're buying a mobile phone, and don't worry necessarily about the pixels, because it's only if you're blowing something up to A3 or billboard size that you really got to worry about pixels anymore. I think any camera these days is going to give you a lovely quality print, normal size.
Okay. So the bigger the sensor, the better.
Yeah, yeah.
So gents, size does matter. There you go. So Jamie is even putting me to shame here, because back in the day you brought a box brownie as a starter camera for your child. What would you buy now?
There was an Olympus DM3, I think it is. Really lovely little camera that's just come down in price, and there's a couple of people I've recommended use it and they absolutely love it. I think Mira, who's in your group, I can put it, I'll find it out and I'll send it around so you can put it on the Facebook app. But it came down in price quite a bit, and just a nice little lens with a nice little mirrorless camera with 2 lenses, which kind of covers all your focal length needs as well. And it came in for about, I think it's around about sort of 400, 500 now, which might sound a lot of money to be to spend on a camera, but it's really not.
Go on, Jamie. How do you want to go to the loo, or you want to ask a question?
Like all these things, is it shock-proof? Because they tend to drop.
What do you mean?
Well, when children handle cameras.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So what are the chances of
I think
breaking?
cameras, again, the more you spend on a camera, or a lens, you'll get waterproof lenses, you get waterproof cameras. The more you spend on the build of a camera, the more you can drop it and chuck it against walls. But I wouldn't suggest any of them. I suggest whatever you do, always put your camera around your neck. or around your body somehow. Because
Get good
otherwise,
insurance.
yeah, I'll tell you what, I dropped my 85mm lens and I almost cried. I dropped it on concrete and it rattled, but it still works. I don't know how, it's fine, doesn't seem to, but there's a definite rattle in it now and I can kick myself.
You know, I always remember being, I was exhibiting at a wedding fair years ago when I started business. There was a lovely guy, photographer, Adam Cunningham. I got on so well with the guy, and he was before the wedding fair started, he was showing me this new lens that he brought, and it cost him something like 9,000. As he was showing me, he dropped it.
Yeah.
And like I said, he could have just stood there and cried. But
yeah, I think I mean, it's
so when it comes to our images, if we were to take our own, I mean, I've dabbled, I've tried. I wouldn't say I'm any good at it. What's the best editing software we could use?
There's quite a few out there which are very reasonable in price. I personally, I stick to one because I know it through and through, and it's really good for organizing my images, and it's an Adobe product, I'm afraid. So it's a subscription only product, but it's Lightroom Classic. Now, Classic is the old version of Lightroom, which enables you to do anything. What Adobe have done to the majority of their products is kind of dumbed down the more recent versions. And that means that you don't get so much control. You can't change so much. They're really trying to make it more marketable to everyone, all types of photographers, right from beginners to professional photographers now. And it drives me nuts because they've taken away some of the options. So if you want to get a really good piece of software, I'd stick to Lightroom even now, but there are some really good sort of cheap ones coming along. Sorry, I'm just trying to keep talking. Ask me another question and I'll remember the name of one.
Okay, no worries. We can always come back to it at the end,
yeah.
Mary. That's fine, because I'm sure there'll be some questions at the end.
Yeah.
So tutorials for this sort of thing. I mean, I've looked at Photoshop. I don't know what the different elements of it are, but I mean, the learning curve on that was just incredible. So what would you say are the best online tutorials for learning photography and editing for our business images?
Yeah, I think specifically if you're looking to create business images, I would push people to creativelive.com.
Okay.
So they live stream for free a lot of stuff over the weekends and during the week, which means you don't have to pay anything at all for them. It's an American company, but you can literally do beginners photography, business photography, how to do a headshot, how to do how to create images of your products. There's a topic on everything. And I think what I really like about them is, whilst they take quite a long time to work your way through, they just explain things really well. And the people they use to do the explaining are usually really good people. And there's one particular woman who's a fashion expert on there, and she does a lot of posing techniques. Whilst you want your photos to be natural, you want portraits to be natural, she explains how to get that natural look and how to compose a group of people and things like that. So I'd definitely go for that. And what you can do is you can buy complete courses and just use them at your leisure, and they usually start at, I don't know, $99 or whatever, and then come down to $19, which I suppose is about 15 quid. But that will give you 10 hours maybe of really, really good quality tuition. I don't know what, Steve, you recommend for them, or you did?
I missed who you were talking about earlier.
Creative Live.
Oh, right. Okay. Yes. Yeah. I don't tend to do. I've done some stuff with. Jerry Chasonus or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Some of his stuff has been quite good, and well, can't quite remember who I've done it with now. But no, they've been particularly good. There's another one. Actually, it might have been Creative Live actually. There's a female photographer on there in Creative. I can't remember her name now. She's a bit kooky, but she's actually very, very, very interesting to sort of watch her stuff.
Is that Lindsay Adler?
No, I do know her. She produces some rather lovely stuff, doesn't she?
Yeah,
very, very sort of creative stuff. Yeah, that's.
Raymond, you got any input on that? No. No, that's fine.
I was trying to think of the people I used to watch. I'm struggling to even think of anyone at the moment.
Okay,
I'll have to go back and look at my files.
I did get burnt with one company, and again, I'll have to forward you their name. But when I was trying to get into videography and sort of starting to learn a little bit about audio and all the rest of it.
Okay.
And they put me on a subscription. My God, I couldn't cancel it. I couldn't do anything. So just be careful about the ones you go for.
Don't name and shame anyone on it because we're recording at the moment.
Right, okay.
So I don't want any solicitors' letters or lawyers' letters.
Okay.
Do you, so a little bit sales pitch time for you, I guess. Do you offer any tutorials, so not just using a camera, but using your phone as well for business owners?
Yeah, absolutely. This is what I'd like to do. I like to offer it off the back of any shoot that I do. So I used during lockdown, I did sort of 5 Zoom lessons. So first Zoom was basically, and obviously I can do these in person now, but the first Zoom was just taking your camera, looking at all the features of it and seeing what you can actually do with your kit, as it were, and explain all the features and what have you. So that got people sort of starting to use the sort of basic different options, and then it would go through composition and lighting and all the other things as well. So it was a sort of a session of 5. So yeah, that was good fun doing that. Yeah.
Okay.
Ended up doing having sort of customers all over. One guy up north, and some of his photographs were incredible. So I had a bit of jealousy coming in at that point because he had some fantastic landscapes. Amazing. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so I mean that's something I may be interested in as well, because it'd be great. I'd love to be able to capture great images and learn more about photography. My oldest daughter, she works full time, but she's now trying to get into professional photography, and I mean she's knocked spots off me. What she does is incredible. Yeah. So for any of us as business owners, if we wanted to come in and have a professional shoot, say a photo shoot, if I wanted to come in, let's have some profile images done for social media and from a website, what would we expect from, like, say, a 1-hour photo shoot with you?
Okay, so I think if you don't have a decent conversation before a shoot, then it's going to be a wasted hour. So if you go to any professional photographer, I would expect that you have a good 15-20 minutes on a Zoom call or chat or meet in person, go for a coffee or whatever, to really sort of understand their brand. You have to be a bit like, remember that kid on Uncle Buck that asked all the questions? I'm genuinely a really nosy person, so I will bombard people with lots of questions simply because I might just find something that brings out some quirk or other that we can incorporate into a photograph. And if you don't get that and you don't ask them about the style of images, I very often say either look on Pinterest, but that can be a little bit sort of, but in a way a bit too standard. I say look at what your competitors are doing, what would make you stand out against your competitors. So have a look at a couple of websites. You can do a lot in sort of 20 minutes, half an hour, and I think that's perfect. And then I would ask within an hour. I mean, I had somebody the other day who had half an hour in the studio, did some very sort of straight portraits, then went outside, took her Newfoundland dog, went roaming over the park next door to me, and that was brilliant. So that gave 2 elements. That was the professional side of her and the, her flats, which I think is people want to see a lot more of these days.
Yeah, absolutely. Across social media, I always agree with
Yeah.
that. The personal
Yeah.
side, get beyond that logo and the brand, and look at the personality of the business as well.
Yeah.
So one thing, when we done the session the other week, the surgery, it was more of a feedback session. I can't remember. I know Jamie, you were on it. I can't remember who else was on it. One of the pieces of feedback that came on there was to have like a members offers page, so where members could offer something to the other members. Not necessarily at a discounted rate, but something additional of value. So that could possibly be something that you might be interested in, and we could all sort of offer something there to the other members as well. Okay, so thanks, Mary. Just going to open up to the other guys on here and Mel as well. Any questions from anyone? Jamie?
Yeah, actually, just looking at you now, Mary, I want a background like you've got. I can't. Why can't I have your background?
It's a blurred background, just so you don't see the mess and the rubbish going on. It's quite it's just on Zoom. It's just one of the backgrounds, which is blur. I think it's one of the first or the second one.
I've looked.
Have you? And you
There's no option. No option.
Oh, right. Okay.
So,
Jamie, I'd put a I don't know. I'd put a photograph of what you do behind you or something.
Yeah, I've tried, but it doesn't work. I go into ghost form.
Oh.
There you go, Jamie, just to make you jealous.
It goes like this. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Martin's got it. See, if I did that,
yeah,
it disappears. Well, no, it's not even ghost form. It just disappears into the window.
That's I think
weird.
Raymond, Steve, you might be able to help us on that. I think it's something to do with the processor in the PC. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've got a very old PC. It's 2011.
That'll be something to do with that and the video card and what have you. Your best thing, is it practical to actually put a green screen behind you?
And well, how do you mean?
Basically, you have a sheet that you draw across behind you, so you can actually then apply the image to the green screen.
A physical.
Yeah, a physical thing.
Oh no! Well, I'd have to go and buy some green paper, I guess.
You can buy sheets reasonably cheaply, sort of 20 quid or whatever. Put it on a stand or put it on something to draw it across behind you.
So a bit
just stick a sheet up there.
Put a sheet up, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Steve's is a little bit worrying because he's just had his eyebrows done.
Just found these strange filters.
I don't know if he's skinned one of those cats and done his eyebrows. Jamie, I'm just intrigued by your comment. You just put Glenn.
Yeah, you said who else was on the call?
Oh, right. My apologies.
Glenn.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions, guys? Mel, any questions? I don't know if she's busy with customers. No. Silence is golden. Excellent. Thanks, Mary.
No, sorry, that was a bit warble on. That's
absolutely fine. I mean, we're done in plenty of time. That was great. I mean, obviously, if there's anything else you want to add, feel free.
Just that I'm interested in your members page and seeing what you'd like in a sense. If there's any way I can help people, happy to. Any
others interested in that and offering something to the members? Steve's nodding. Yep. Jamie's nodding, Raymond's nodding. Brilliant. Okay, that's something we're going to put together because I think that's going to, we're trying to build a community with the members as well. And I think if we can offer and work with each other, collaborate with each other as well, that would be great.
I'd still love to photograph Raymond. Been trying to get him into the studio for.
We just haven't
look at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, all right.
Just in curiosity now, why are you so keen to get Raymond in the studio?
I want to go to that festival. I think is it Austria, Steve, where they do the beards.
Okay. So it's the beard thing, is it? Yeah.
And I thought you had a Charles I costume.
Sorry.
And I thought you had a Charles I costume.
I want to be D'Artagnan, so one of the Musketeers or something. So perhaps get an outfit like that.
Raymond, I wasn't trying to put you down, so I was just intrigued by Mary was so keen to get you in the studio. Brilliant. Thanks, guys. If you got any other questions to Mary, feel free to ask them in the Facebook group.
Thanks for coming in, especially Steve, as he probably doesn't want to hear a load of photography stuff.
Oh, Mel's back with us. Mel, any questions before we go? One question is, how do I find a mute button?
Hiya, yeah, I found it now. Not directly, but Mary, I would like to have a chat with you about some photography at some point. So perhaps I'll just give you a ring.
Yeah, please do. Love to help, Mel.
Yeah, so it's more of a family thing than a business, but
Okay.
yeah, so that'd be great
Yeah,
to
excellent.
have catch up or something. Perhaps we'll have a Zoom. I don't know. It's up to you.
Yeah, definitely. I'll drop you an email.
Yeah, all right then, Mary. I'll speak to you soon. Anyway, thank you.
Brilliant.
I'm sorry I was dropping in and out, but that's probably good in a way because that means I've got customers.
It is. It's good to see. So thanks for joining us, everyone.
Yeah.
I'll stick the recording on the Facebook group and on the website as well. But like I say, any other questions for Mary, please let me know or put them on the Facebook group. And I'll do my best to get this members offers page up as soon as possible. And then you can all send your offers, or you may even, if I can find a way, to actually upload your offers yourself. So leave it with me. Anyway,
Brilliant.
thanks. Have a great day, everyone.
Yeah. Thanks, Mary.
Bye.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Speak to you later.
Bye.